There's a moment in many marriages when nothing is dramatically wrong, and yet something still doesn't feel right. Not broken, not over, just off. The conversations aren't as easy as they used to be. The laughter doesn't come as quickly. And the connection that once felt so natural, now it feels like something you have to work at. And in that space, something else begins to fade. Hope. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, until one day you realize you're no longer sure things can feel the way they used to. What's important to understand is this: hope doesn't disappear randomly, it fades for a reason. And for many couples, that reason isn't a lack of love, it's a lack of understanding. Because when something isn't working in a marriage, most people respond the only way they know how. They try harder. She explains more, she reaches out again, she tries to talk it through, and he tries in his own way. He may try to fix it. He may try to just keep the peace. Or he may step back. And yet, despite all that effort, the same conversations keep happening. The same misunderstandings keep repeating. The same distance keeps returning and growing. And eventually, a quiet thought begins to form. I've tried everything. But what if that's not actually true? What if the issue isn't that you've tried everything, but that you haven't been given the right framework to understand what's happening? Because what many couples don't realize is that they are living inside of patterns, not random moments, not isolated conflicts. Patterns. Predictable ways of interacting that repeat over and over time. And once you begin to see the pattern, you start to recognize it everywhere, in every conversation. She wants to talk it through. She wants to sit down. She wants to understand what just happened. She wants to clear the air. And to her, that feels like the most natural thing in the world. Because if something feels off, she talks about it. She works through it. She stays with it until it's resolved. But for him, that same moment feels very different. Because to him, it doesn't feel like a conversation. It feels like pressure. It feels like something is being required of him that he's not quite sure about or is ready for. He doesn't know. And so instead of leaning in, he steps back. He gets quiet. He changes the subject. He says, "It's fine." Or he leaves the room altogether. And now, both of them are confused. She's thinking, why won't he talk to me? And he's thinking, why can't she just let this go? And without realizing it, they've just stepped into a pattern. Not because either of them is wrong, but because they're having two very different experiences of the exact same moment. And this doesn't only show up in conflict. Oftentimes it's much quieter than that. No argument, no obvious problem, just a subtle shift. She begins to feel a little less seen, a little less important. Nothing she can point to exactly, but she feels it. And so she starts doing a little more, trying a little harder, giving a little more, hoping something will change. Meanwhile, he's looking at the relationship and thinking, everything seems okay to me. There's no major conflict, no big issue to solve. So from his perspective, nothing is wrong. And now they're living in two completely different realities. She's quietly longing for something more, and he doesn't even know anything is missing. And over time, that gap begins to feel bigger and bigger. Not because love is gone, but because the connection is missing. And this is the part most people have never been taught. It's not just about communication. It's about learning how to decode what's actually happening beneath the surface. Because when you can see the pattern and understand the differences driving it, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop taking everything personally. Instead of thinking he doesn't care, she begins to see he's having a different experience than I am. Instead of feeling she's making this a bigger deal than it is, he begins to see this matters to her in a way I don't understand. And in that shift, something begins to soften. Not because the situation has changed, but because the meaning of it has changed. And that's where hope begins to return. Not because everything is suddenly better, but because now change feels possible, doable. Now, hope isn't wishful thinking. It's not pretending things are better than they are. Hope is clarity. Hope is direction. Hope is the moment you realize this might make sense from a different angle. Or I want to see what's happening for my mate. And if I can see it, I might respond differently. So if your marriage feels rocky right now, this is what matters most. Not that you fix everything, not that you have all the answers, but that you both begin to see what you haven't been able to see before, to notice the pattern, to become curious instead of certain, to shift from reacting to curiosity and fascination. Because what feels confusing now could become clear. What feels heavy now could become lighter. And what feels uncertain now could begin to move in a new direction. And if something in this message resonates with you, there's more to learn. This is just the beginning of understanding what's really happening inside your relationship. If you'd like to take the next step, you'll find a link to resources in the description below that can help you begin to see your relationship more clearly. Because once you can see it, you could begin to change it.